Welcome back to Scale of the Cosmos. Smash like and subscribe. Imagine standing on Saturn, not orbiting it, not flying past it, actually living there. At first, it sounds almost peaceful. Saturn is beautiful. It's calm compared to Jupiter, with soft golden bands and those iconic rings stretching endlessly across the sky. It doesn't look violent. It doesn't look deadly. But that illusion disappears the moment you get close. Because Saturn is not a world you can stand on. It is a planet designed, perfectly, to destroy you. The first and most obvious problem is simple. There is no surface. Saturn is a gas giant, meaning it's made almost entirely of hydrogen and helium. There's no solid ground, no continents, no oceans, nothing you could ever stand on. If you tried to land on Saturn, you wouldn't land at all. You would fall, and you would keep falling. At first, it might not feel that bad. You'd pass through the upper atmosphere, where the clouds look soft and almost harmless. Pale yellows, light browns, faint streaks of white. It might even feel like floating through fog. But that's where the nightmare begins. As you descend deeper into Saturn, the pressure starts to rise. Slowly at first, then violently. Within minutes, the atmospheric pressure becomes stronger than anything humans can survive. Your body isn't built for this. Even in the deepest parts of Earth's oceans, we rely on heavily reinforced submarines to withstand the crushing force. On Saturn, there is no protection strong enough. The pressure would compress your body from all sides. Your lungs wouldn't be able to expand. Your bones would begin to strain. Every inch of you would be squeezed tighter and tighter. Eventually, the pressure would become so intense that it wouldn't matter what you were wearing or how advanced your technology was. You would be crushed. Completely. But let's say, somehow, you avoided that. Let's say you had a suit strong enough to resist the pressure. You're still not surviving. Because Saturn's atmosphere isn't just crushing, it's deadly in another way. There's no oxygen, not even a trace amount you could breathe. Saturn's atmosphere is made mostly of hydrogen, with helium, and small amounts of methane and ammonia mixed in. If you removed your helmet for even a second, you wouldn't suffocate the way you might expect. You'd inhale gas that your body cannot use. Your brain would begin to shut down almost immediately. Within seconds, you'd lose consciousness. Within minutes, you'd be gone. There is no breathing on Saturn. There is no life. And then there's the cold. Saturn is incredibly far from the Sun, sitting nearly 1 billion miles away. Because of this, it receives very little heat. The temperatures in its upper atmosphere drop to around -285 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold enough to freeze you solid almost instantly. Even with advanced protection, the cold would seep in. Your equipment would struggle. Systems would fail. Materials would become brittle. Every second you remain exposed increases the risk of catastrophic failure. You wouldn't just freeze. You'd become part of the frozen, lifeless gas surrounding you. But strangely, Saturn isn't just cold. As you fall deeper, it becomes something even worse. Hot. Extremely hot. This is where Saturn becomes truly terrifying. The deeper you go, the more pressure builds. And with that pressure comes heat. Temperatures begin to rise dramatically, climbing higher and higher until they reach thousands of degrees. At this point, you're no longer dealing with freezing gas. You're dealing with an environment hot enough to melt metal. So even if you somehow survived the crushing pressure and freezing cold above, you'd eventually enter a region where the heat would destroy everything. Your suit would fail, your body would burn, and there would be nothing you could do to stop it. Now let's talk about Saturn's winds, because Saturn doesn't just sit still, it moves, violently. The planet experiences some of the fastest winds in the entire solar system. Speeds can reach over 1,100 miles per hour, faster than the speed of sound. Imagine being caught in a hurricane on Earth. Now multiply that power several times over. That's what Saturn is like. These winds would rip through anything in their path. Structures would be torn apart instantly. Even if you were somehow floating safely in the atmosphere, you wouldn't stay there for long. You'd be thrown around like a rag doll, spun, twisted, and dragged through layers of crushing pressure and extreme temperature. There is no stability, no calm, only chaos. And then there are the storms. Saturn may look peaceful from a distance, but it produces massive storms that can cover huge portions of the planet. Some of these storms last for months, even years. Lightning flashes through the clouds, far more powerful than anything on Earth. Thunder echoes through the thick atmosphere. Energy builds and releases in ways we barely understand. If you were anywhere near one of these storms, survival wouldn't even be a question. You wouldn't stand a chance. But Saturn has one more deadly secret, something even stranger. Deep within the planet, scientists believe the pressure becomes so extreme that hydrogen transforms into a metallic state, liquid metallic hydrogen. This isn't something we experience on Earth. It's a form of matter created under unimaginable pressure. It conducts electricity, generates magnetic fields, and exists in conditions we can barely replicate in laboratories. If you somehow reach this depth, which is impossible, you wouldn't just be crushed or burned. You would be completely destroyed at the atomic level. There is no survival past this point. Now let's step back for a second. Because even before you ever reach Saturn, it would already be trying to kill you. Saturn's radiation environment, while not as intense as Jupiter's, is still dangerous. Its magnetosphere traps charged particles, creating regions of radiation that would damage your body and your equipment over time. Long exposure would increase your risk of radiation sickness, system failures, and eventual death. So even approaching Saturn is dangerous. Living there, impossible. And yet, Saturn still looks peaceful. That's what makes it so unsettling. From afar, it's one of the most beautiful objects in the solar system. Its rings shimmer in sunlight. Its colors are soft and calming. It feels almost welcoming. But that beauty is a lie. Because Saturn is not a place. It's a trap. A massive, swirling, crushing, freezing, burning trap that offers no escape. So what would actually happen if you tried to live on Saturn? Let's put it all together. You arrive in orbit, looking down at the golden planet below. It seems calm, silent. You begin your descent. At first, everything feels normal. The clouds look soft. The atmosphere seems thin enough to pass through. But then the pressure starts building. Your suit strains. Systems begin to warn you. The temperature drops rapidly. Frost forms across your equipment. Then the winds hit. You're thrown off course, spinning uncontrollably as the atmosphere thickens around you. Breathing becomes impossible. Even inside your suit, the environment begins to fail. The pressure increases faster now. Your body feels it. Your chest tightens. Movement becomes harder. And then, everything collapses. Your suit gives in. The pressure crushes you instantly. And if somehow it didn't, the cold would freeze you. The heat below would burn you. The winds would tear you apart. The atmosphere would suffocate you. There is no version of this where you survive. Saturn is not just uninhabitable. It is completely incompatible with life as we know it. There is no ground to stand on. No air to breathe, no temperature you can tolerate, no protection strong enough to keep you safe. It is a world that rejects you in every possible way. So the next time you look up at images of Saturn, remember this. You're not looking at a peaceful, distant planet. You're looking at one of the most hostile environments in the solar system, a place where survival isn't difficult, it's impossible. And yet, that's what makes it so fascinating. Because Saturn reminds us of something important. Not every world is meant for us. Some places in the universe are so extreme, so unforgiving, that they exist completely outside the limits of human life. And Saturn is one of them. And if all of that somehow still wasn't enough, Saturn's rings add one more layer of danger that most people don't even think about. Those beautiful rings aren't solid. They're made of billions of pieces of ice and rock, ranging from tiny grains to chunks as large as mountains. If you tried to pass through them, you wouldn't gently glide between particles like in the movies. You'd be entering a high-speed debris field. Everything in Saturn's rings is orbiting at incredible speeds. Even a small piece of ice hitting you would have the force of an explosion. A larger fragment wouldn't just damage your spacecraft, it would completely destroy it in an instant. There's no safe path, no clear opening, just constant motion and invisible danger. So before you even reach the planet itself, Saturn gives you one final warning. You don't belong here. And if you ignore that warning, Saturn doesn't just defeat you, it erases you. And even beyond the physical dangers, Saturn would completely destroy your sense of direction and reality. There's no horizon, no ground, no sky in the way we understand it. Just endless layers of clouds stretching in every direction, all moving at different speeds. You wouldn't know which way is up or down. Gravity would still be pulling you inward, but visually, everything would feel disorienting and chaotic. Light barely penetrates the deeper layers, so as you fall further, everything would grow darker and darker. Eventually, you'd be surrounded by near-total darkness, with only brief flashes of lightning illuminating the swirling gas around you. Your instruments would struggle to function. Your brain would struggle to process what it's seeing. Panic would set in fast. Because humans rely on reference points, on stability, on solid ground, on a clear sense of space. Saturn offers none of that. It's not just physically unlivable, it's psychologically overwhelming. A place where even your perception of reality begins to break down long before your body does.